motive of our attack was very clear. It was a simple and clear message to China and Pakistan to withdraw immediately from Balochistan.
On March 11, 2025, armed militants hijacked a Pakistani passenger train carrying 400 people, sparking a deadly 36-hour siege that left scores dead. The same month, Dr. Mahrang Baloch, a human rights activist fighting state repression in Balochistan, was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. Two headlines, one forgotten war. For 7 decades, Pakistan has fought a brutal insurgency in Balochistan, a province that makes up nearly half the country's landmass and sits atop vast energy reserves. Yet this conflict has remained largely invisible to the outside world, hidden behind media blackouts and military censorship. The insurgency, once led by tribal leaders, now encompasses growing numbers of alienated middle-class Baloch, with educated professionals joining the resistance alongside female suicide bombers, a radical shift in one of Pakistan's most conservative provinces. International activists are putting Pakistan's human rights abuses on the world stage, while attacks on Chinese workers endanger Pakistan's most important diplomatic relationship, making this conflict impossible to ignore. Pakistan's most strategic province is also its most restive. The question isn't whether this conflict will explode, it's whether Pakistan can survive when it does. This is the untold story of Balochistan, how a forced annexation in 1948 created a 77-year cycle of rebellion, repression and resistance that threatens to tear Pakistan apart. To understand the Baloch conflict, one must examine how Balochistan was incorporated into Pakistan. Balochistan held strategic importance for the British Raj as a buffer against Tsarist Russia's advance through Central Asia toward the warm waters of the Indian Ocean. A loyal Balochistan provided a launching pad for interventions in Afghanistan and Iran. Under their forward policy, the British built railways, roads and garrisons, notably in Quetta, to project power northward and monitor Afghan and Russian movements. From 1839, Britain established a dual system of control over Balochistan, direct rule over British Balochistan and indirect control of the Khanate of Kalat, which was a princely state ruled by Ahmed Khan. While treaties recognized the Khan's independence, Britain controlled his foreign policy and maintained military garrisons throughout his territory. When Britain departed in 1947, British Balochistan automatically transferred to Pakistan, while the princely state of Kalat declared independence. Kalat operated as a sovereign nation with its own embassy in Karachi, ambassador and state flag. The Khan faced several options for Kalat's future: joining Iran, India or Afghanistan, remaining a British protectorate, or maintaining independence while cultivating friendly relations with Pakistan. Ironically, the Khan and Jinnah had enjoyed a close relationship before partition. The Khan had hired Jinnah as his legal advisor to argue for Kalat's independence and made substantial financial contributions to the Muslim League. However, once Jinnah became Pakistan's Governor-General, the power dynamic in their relationship changed dramatically. Jinnah abandoned his previous support for Kalat's independence and demanded immediate accession to Pakistan. When diplomatic pressure failed, Pakistan systematically forced Kalat's vassal states, Makran, Karan and Lasbela, to join Pakistan first, effectively landlocking Kalat and destroying its bargaining position. On March 27, 1948, Pakistan's army invaded Kalat, forcing the Khan to surrender and sign the instrument of accession 3 days later. This forced annexation, ending Kalat's 227-day independence, has been declared illegal by numerous Baloch nationalist movements, sowing seeds for 7 decades of insurgencies and rebellions. Balochistan stands as Pakistan's most strategic province. Spanning 600,000 square kilometers, nearly 44% of Pakistan's total landmass, this southeastern region of the Iranian plateau commands decisive geopolitical advantages. The province's 760-kilometer coastline delivers 2 separate advantages that anchor Pakistan's strategic position. First, it sits adjacent to the Strait of Hormuz, through which 40% of global oil supplies flow daily. Second, this same coastline hosts 3 naval bases, Ormara, Pasni and Gwadar, positioned far from India's reach. Whilst Karachi has been blockaded and attacked by India in past wars, These bases offer the Pakistan Navy strategic depth its primary port lacks. Beyond its coastline, Balochistan's Afghan border provides crucial military leverage. During the War on Terror, airfields at Pasni, Dalbandin, and Shamsi hosted US Special Forces and intelligence operations, bases Pakistan still uses to project power into Afghanistan today. Additionally, the province's vast landmass serves as Pakistan's nuclear fortress. Chagai houses the nation's nuclear testing site, while the surrounding wilderness allows military forces to scatter warheads and launchers across hundreds of concealed locations. Beneath this strategic landscape lies extraordinary mineral wealth. Balochistan produces 36% of Pakistan's natural gas, alongside vast reserves of coal, gold, copper, silver, platinum, aluminum, and uranium. Despite Balochistan's strategic importance and natural wealth, the province remains systemically marginalized, with minimal representation in the Punjabi-dominated federal bureaucracy and military. This reality drives Baloch nationalists to view Islamabad as a foreign occupier. Gas extraction is case in point. Discovered in Sui, Gwadar Bugti in 1952, Balochistan's gas became vital to Pakistan's economy, while the local population saw limited benefit. Today, although Balochistan's gas generates approximately $1.4 billion annually, the government returns only a fraction to the province. The state controls extraction through 3 companies: Pakistan Petroleum Limited, Sui Northern Gas Pipelines Limited, and Sui Southern Gas Company Limited, all operated by non-Baloch management and shareholders. Economically, Balochistan remains Pakistan's most impoverished province, plagued by the nation's weakest growth, lowest GDP per capita, and severe water and electricity shortages. China's multi-billion-dollar economic corridor initially promised transformation. Gwadar's deep water port would ease Karachi's congestion while allowing Chinese imports to bypass the contested South China Sea. Despite billions in investment, local communities have seen limited benefits. The projects have displaced residents, excluded provincial leaders from decision-making, and failed to address the province's core economic crisis. The majority of the population lives below the poverty line, lacking access to clean water and facing severe shortages of educational and employment opportunities. Balochistan's marginalization has reached almost farcical extremes. The Pakistan-China Gwadar University is being constructed in Lahore rather than Gwadar itself, while the so-called Baloch Regiment contains virtually no Baloch soldiers. The province's name adorns institutions that exclude its own people. Thus, insurgencies and rebellions have become the norm in Balochistan. A constant in the history of Balochistan has been rebellion and insurgencies which occur in predictable cycles and are often crushed by Pakistan using medieval ferocity. The first major rebellion erupted over the one-unit system in 1955. This scheme divided Pakistan into 2 units, West Pakistan and East Pakistan. The western provinces were merged into a single administrative unit, designed by West Pakistan's elite to dilute Bengali electoral dominance while simultaneously marginalizing Baloch, Sindhi, and Pashtun populations. After the one-unit system dissolved in 1970, Balochistan held its first provincial election in 1972 after East Pakistan broke away to become Bangladesh due to a lack of provincial autonomy. However, old habits die hard. Pakistan continued its overbearing approach toward provinces, with Prime Minister Zulfikar Ali Bhutto dismissing Balochistan's first elected government within a year. The dismissal ignited a fierce insurgency, which Pakistan brutally crushed through airstrikes on villages. Iran's Shah provided crucial support, contributing $200 million and 30 Cobra attack helicopters to help suppress both Pakistani and Iranian Baloch resistance. Rebellion and insurgency have defined Balochistan's relationship with Pakistan, ebbing and flowing, but consistently breaking trust to the point where a functioning relationship seems impossible. Perhaps nothing damaged Pakistan-Baloch relations more than the killing of Akbar Bugti, a pivotal figure in Baloch politics, who initially supported Pakistan's creation but transformed into a fierce opponent of state control over provincial resources. His conflict with military dictator Musharraf centered on control of Balochistan's natural gas fields in Sui, demanding a larger share of revenues for his tribe and province, alongside a moratorium on new military bases. The state responded with increasing hostility, prompting Bugti to take up arms and lead an insurgency against the military regime. On August 26, 2006, this confrontation reached its climax when Bugti was killed in a military operation in Kolu district, transforming him into a martyr and intensifying the Baloch insurgency. The military projects a narrative that Balochistan's insurgencies are foreign-inspired, blaming India and Afghanistan rather than acknowledging genuine grievances of the local population. This narrative dominates through a virtual media blackout on alleged military abuses, with journalists facing intense pressure to promote positive army coverage. India has indeed sponsored separatism across Pakistan to keep it off balance, but this alone cannot explain the insurgency's growing popularity. Acts like Bugti's killing made the insurgency far more popular, with throngs of middle-class Baloch joining the resistance. Today, the resistance struggle enjoys broader support than ever before, alongside growing sophistication. The Baloch Liberation Army appears to have mastered advanced surveillance and intelligence-gathering technology while demonstrating skill with sophisticated weaponry. On March 11th, BLA separatists hijacked a passenger train carrying over 400 people from Quetta to Peshawar. The siege near Bolan Pass ended after a 36-hour standoff between hijackers and Army Special Forces. Pakistani military sources reported 31 deaths among civilians and security personnel, plus 33 militants, though the BLA disputed these figures, claiming it took 214 hostages and killed them all. Equally concerning for Pakistan is Chinese pressure to protect its workforce and investments. The BLA has repeatedly targeted Chinese workers and engineers on projects through gunfire, suicide bombings, and convoy ambushes. Most remarkably, the BLA has expanded beyond tribal support to include the educated middle class, even recruiting women as suicide bombers. In April 2022, a Baloch woman with a medical degree was identified as the suicide bomber who killed 3 Chinese nationals at Karachi University. Alongside armed resistance, an increasingly vocal rights-based movement has emerged. The Baloch Hijacking Committee, led by Mahrang Baloch, dedicated to activism against Pakistan's military policy of enforced disappearances and extrajudicial killings, she has gained international support through repeated marches on Islamabad, bringing the conflict into mainstream attention. Time magazine named her one of 100 emerging influential leaders, and she has been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. Her international profile and vocal activism prompted the Pakistani government to bar her from international travel and confiscate her passport. Pakistan's military-run government is responding to the crisis with its only tool: force, with General Asim Munir describing the non-violent movement as foreign-backed terrorist proxies while launching yet another counter-insurgency campaign. When all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail, and there appears to be no indication of addressing Baloch grievances, further fueling political alienation. Unfortunately, Balochistan lacks the manpower and means to force Pakistan's military to withdraw from the province. They can continue being an uncomfortable thorn in the state's side through guerrilla warfare, harassing military forces and Chinese investments while keeping the military bogged down in costly operations. As Pakistan's economic condition deteriorates and armed resistance gains traction among Baloch youth, the insurgency may spiral beyond the state's capacity to contain the crisis alongside managing threats from Afghanistan and India. The question remains: will Pakistan continue this expensive cycle of repression or finally address the root causes that have fueled 7 decades of insurgency and rebellion? I have been your host, Albert. If you have enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe. Until next time.